Hello, good evening and welcome to the Bexhill-on-Sea Town Council Finance and Audit Committee on Wednesday the 12th of November 2025. Please can I remind everybody in the room to put their telephones onto aeroplane mode as it affects the recording equipment. Number one on the agenda is public participation. I note that we've got people in the public gallery, and can I ask if anybody wishes to speak? Okay. Moving on to number two, to receive apologies for absence.
Councillor Hussain is on holiday, Councillor L is also on holiday, and Councillor Ruston has family commitments.
Thank you. Can I have a show of hands to agree the apologies, please? Thank you. Item 3, to receive declarations of pecuniary and non-pecuniary interests. Anybody? Item 4, Chair's announcements. Just to say that I am Councillor Blagrove and I am standing in tonight for the Chair, who is actually having a lovely holiday somewhere. Item 5, the minutes, and to approve the minutes of the meeting of Wednesday the 17th of September as a true record. You will have all read those, and can I have a show of hands please to agree them? Thank you very much.
So if I can get you to sign every single page, please. And then there's a larger signature on this back page as well. I'll get you to date and sign. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Item 6 is governance and accountability. So 6A is to receive bank reconciliation as of the 31st of October 2025. Shall I read down them?
Yep, it's up to you, Chair, whether you want to vote individually or en bloc.
Okay, I think we're going to vote for these en bloc, so I'll read through them. 6B is to consider budget position as of the 31st of October 2025. 6C is to receive payment listing as of September and October 2025. And 6D is to receive earmarked reserves as of the 31st of October 2025. 6E is to receive the CCLA update. So you will have all had a chance to read them. Councillor Wilson.
If I can through you, Chair, probably a question for the IFO, but Appendix B, which shows the instant access and the current bank account. So we won't probably be making any money out of the £700,000, and I know it's pending the CCLA stuff, but should we not be moving money into an account that gains something in interest rather than leaving it in a current account? If I had nearly £750,000 sitting in a current account, well, I wouldn't have £750,000 in a current account, but
Yes, please do.
Of that 713, a portion of that is still that is being moved over into the instant access. The instant access does earn a small amount of interest, but obviously not a massive amount. And obviously we're pending to move that money out of there into the CCLA, which if I combine with 6E while I'm discussing it, we are still pending to put that onto the CCLA investment, as we are waiting for mandate signatories to sign the forms.
okay.
Which obviously one of them is here and one of them is not here this evening. but obviously we can look at additional investments going forward, but obviously we're going to move the 500 basically that we resolved at the last meeting onto CCLA out of that instant access.
Yeah.
I'm now moving over 112,000, which was the latest seal income payment, into that instant access to carry on earning interest on it.
Okay.
Obviously, we want to keep the current account with sufficient funds in it. I know there's a lot in there at the moment, but like I say, some of that will be moved out. But obviously that's there as part of the precept to run the council until we get to April, May next year.
I just wonder whether as a finance committee, just responding to that, whether it's down to us to make the decisions to move money around, because even taking the 182,000 seal payment that is sitting in the current bank account, we would still have over £500,000 sitting there, and roughly if you took 100,000 a month from now till the end, we could gain interest on £500,000. Just a thought, maybe
Can I answer Councillor Wilson?
Yes, please.
Once the CCLA is set up, we can add funds to that and withdraw funds. That's the whole point of the CCLA. So if once we've got it in place and the money, the current money is moved out, the committee can then resolve, if they wish to increase that CCLA fund by, you know, enough to obviously leave money in the current account, but you can add to that going forward.
I'm not sure whether it's the right time now. I know we eventually agreed on £500,000 to transfer across, but we've had another batch of seal money. Do we need to put another motion forward to potentially increase that? Otherwise we're just going to have another 180,000 sitting in a bank not invested. And if we can take it out as easy as we put it in, should we consider upping that to say 650? Now we've got some more seal money that we haven't decided how we're going to spend that seal money. It's quite important, I think, that we show to residents that when we've got 1.2 million as councillors, we are aware and how we make best use of that pending some of the actions that we've got through earmark reserves. That's all I'm saying. I think we've got an opportunity to potentially, through you, Chair, increase the 500, because I wasn't aware that we had such a massive seal payment when we agreed the 500 at the last one.
Thank you. Anything to go back with?
Councillor Wilson, we wouldn't have done because that came in after the last finance meeting. So we didn't have, when we discussed the CCLA, that figure hadn't been received from Robert District Council. That's fine.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's the committee decision if you want to increase the CCLA fund from the original funds that you would look to put in there, which was £500,000. Personally, and it is just my personal opinion, I would be happier to have the account set up first and up and running and then add to it. And like I say, I'm moving the money from the current into the instant access, which does earn some interest, but obviously not as much as the CCLA. No. So that's my, obviously it's the committee's decision if you want to increase that original investment.
I'm only one committee member, but I think we have the option of at least putting another 100,000 in if we've got another 182,000 that's come in since the last finance meeting, because that 100,000 at an extra 3% would make another £3,000 for our residents in a year. So I think it would be remiss of us not to discuss the potential of increasing that 500 to greater. Now we know we've got another 182,000 in. But can we do that if we've only just passed a motion? Can we change that number? Because there's rules around when a motion's in place, changing it or overriding it. But the world has changed because we've now got more money than what we thought we had. I would be happy to put a motion forward, if we can, to increase the 500 to 600, which is putting just over half of the seal money that we've received. So it's not affecting any of the other discussions that were held at the last one, and it would give greater flexibility.
Personally, I would say that you suggest to add the seal money received, 112,000, as an additional investment, because the original motion then still stands.
Yeah, okay.
Just my personal, sorry, Councillor Winter.
So,
Councillor Winter.
I personally would just prefer to go with what the RFO said and get the account set up first before adding any additional funds. Obviously, I can see the benefit of £3,000, but we pretty much haven't spent any seal money. That's why there's so much sitting there. So, you know, the odd £3,000 isn't going to make the great deal of difference. You know, if it's 30,000, then it's completely different. But I would rather, you know, before adding more on top of what we've already got, get the account set up, and then, like the RFO said, we can add and take as we please afterwards. It's my personal opinion.
Thank you. Anybody else with anything to say? Councillor Crotty.
Thank you, Chair. My question really is for the CCTV. Is it needed?
We're not talking about CCTV.
I know, I'm not talking about it. That's my only question about CCTV. The other thing about the finances is fine.
I think we'll do that one another day.
I agree with the RFO.
Yes. Well, my opinion is also we've got a very experienced RFO, and I'm happy to go with her ideas. And yeah. So, anything else to say, anybody? If not, then can we take those 5 items all together on block, and can I have a show of hands?
So I've got some questions on some of the other appendixes, if I may.
Okay.
The payment listings, I don't know who signed them off, but I'm not sure. It's probably quite straightforward. The very first one from September, Ricora South East, I have no idea who they are. Tell me who they are, Chair, please.
The RFO cards.
Sorry. Yes, I do. Please.
Councillor Wilson, that is the people that provide the curbside waste collection bags for us in the office.
Okay, thank you. My other question, on the October payment listings, 2/3 of the way down, Rain and Shine Estates, off-road park stroke lock-up.
For you, Councillor Blagrave?
Yes, please. Sorry.
That's all right. No, that's fine. That is for the parking of one of the vehicles.
Okay,
And the lock-up is where the only
Okay.
place we could store the town rangers.
okay, thank you. I just hadn't seen it on any other previous listings. And one question which I think I'll save for later on in the agenda.
Do you have any more questions?
Just checking my paperwork for my preparation, if that's all right.
Fine.
So on E, 6E, I've heard the update from our RFO to you, Chair, thank you. Do we have any time scale of when the CCLA update is? I know there's some issues overletting signatories, which does that question whether we've got enough signatories for a town council.
Please, do you want to?
Okay. Basically, we have, we've got 4 signatories.
Okay,
I don't think we need to review it at the moment. I think it's something we need to think about going forward as we get bigger, with access to online authorisation of payments and such like. I think it's something down on my list to discuss with this committee in the towards the end of the financial year, new financial year. Like I say, I've got one of the cheque signatories to sign it this evening. I hope to get one of the other ones in, hopefully, next week when they're back from leave, and then we can get that filled out and sent off, sorry.
okay.
I'm hoping by the end of November.
Okay, thank you. My final question goes back to Appendix D. I just want to make sure if it's something related to staff payments, am I still able to ask it even though we've passed Appendix D and got it authorised in the later on session? Otherwise I'll ask it now, but could be sensitive.
Is this on this?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sorry, can you... What is the question actually?
Okay, I'll ask the question, you can decide whether it's suitable or not. I've tried to calculate what the town council pay as a pension contribution towards staff salaries, and I can't work the calculation out. So my question is, what percentage do we pay towards pensionable salaries?
That'll be something that we go through in our
Okay,
salary
so
review.
I can't agree with this because the question is related to this, and it's because if you work out the percentages between October and September differ.
Would you like to speak on that?
I can speak
Or-
without being very careful about how I place it.
Yeah.
What I will say to you, Councillor Wilson, is that not every member of staff is part of the pension scheme.
Okay.
So if you're basing it on what you're seeing
Yeah. I do.
on staff salaries and trying to work a percentage out over the amount of staff,
Yeah.
not all members of the staff
Okay.
are in the pension scheme.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Right, let's go back there again. Can we please have a show of hands to agree with the 5 items? Thank you. Anybody against? Anybody abstaining? Thank you.
Happy to move on to item 7.
Item 7 is grants and donations, and 7A is to receive updated grant and donation policy so has everybody had a chance to look at that? Are you all happy with that? Any questions? Councillor Winter.
Big Chair, all I would say is following a few finance meetings ago when yourself and I sort of come up with this new grants and donations policy, I'd just like to extend my thanks to the staff for pulling this together. I know it's come to draft quite a couple of times, so I'm pleased to see it in its format, and I am happy to move, if we can, that it's adopted at some point.
Thank you. Any other observations? Councillor Wilson.
Just an observation with 2.4. If we change that value in future years, that means we've got to review this document before we can. So we need to remember that. Because it's got a fixed value. We could have potentially in hindsight put the value as agreed on the annual precept, then we wouldn't have had to review the document. But we must remember as a committee that if we change the value, we'll have to review that document every time we change the value. Apart from that, I have no issues with it.
Fair enough. Shall we go to the vote for that one then? Everybody for, please raise your hand. Thank you. And that one's
That is carried. So that will go to full council for adoption, and then everything's done until next time.
moving on to 7B, to receive the grants report, which there isn't one, is it?
Yes, there is. So there's Appendix G.
Okay.
It was basically, there's no grant applications this month and hasn't been for a couple of months. I just thought I'd give you the report still so you can see who we've paid out so far this year and what's left in the grant pot. That's basically just an info sort of update scenario rather than a agree of anything.
Okay, thank you very much. We now move on to item 8, which is the budget predictions for 26-27. And for this, we're going over to the RFO to speak about this. Thank you.
Okay, so I went with the format that some councillors felt happy with at the engagement and comms with the layout. I've done it obviously in A4 format as well, otherwise you're looking at minuscule print and everything else. I've done a covering report that would have come out with this as appendix H1, just basically summarising the amendment that I've done to the budget, obviously based on current year figures and predictions where possible. I can't say my crystal ball is always going to be crystal clear, and things will come up that we don't anticipate. And then obviously on top of that, which I take it all of the councillors have read through the covering report, and obviously built in basically the recommendations that have come from the amenities and the engagement and comms committee. So, and that's where we are. And then obviously a snapshot of the earmark reserves, which you would have seen just a minute ago.
I haven't looked at page 1.
H1.
No. I've got it.
I shall hand it to you now.
Thank you.
Can I have apologies? I don't know quite.
Thank you so much.
Would you by any chance have a spare?
Michelle was with us, so that's all right.
No, I've got one. Oh,
Don't worry, I'm fine.
Yeah, that's all right.
I'll get it off.
I mean, I can bring it up on my screen. And
No,
we can
it's all right.
show it.
It's my
One else is prepared.
Oh yes, this was the one. This was the appendix that came out after the packs were sent. Yeah, sorry about that.
That's all right.
Oh, okay. That's the two people
Yeah.
that have got perhaps haven't got it. How would you, as the committee, like me to go through this? I mean, I can go through the report, the covering report, bit by bit, which shows you where I've changed stuff, or I can go through the actual budget line by line. It's you as a committee what you feel, or you can just ask questions on the report or the budget report. I'm happy to go with whatever you generally feel is.
Any ideas for that?
I'd be steered by the chair, but potentially do it by colour code and give us the opportunity to take the first batch and the second batch and just one batch at a time.
Okay.
Is that it? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, all right, okay. So you want to start off with, obviously, the top part of the receipts is the precept, which obviously will be what we decide once it goes to full council. Other income potentially could be a Christmas light donation, and then bank interest. Obviously, that's quite a significant increase because obviously we are looking to put more money into CCLA, which will give us high return on our bank interest. And then allotment rents is the other income that's sitting up the top there. That hasn't really changed due to, I based it on the current year's figures, it's more than last year. And obviously the town rangers will be working up at the allotment site at Preston Road to try and see if we can clear some further areas up there that can be potentially let for further income. Going down is where we start running through the expenditure. So the first line, you've got staff costs. That includes the national insurance, pension costs and scale point increases. Obviously each officer is on a scale point banding, and each year we will move through their bandings until you hit a glass ceiling or your role changes. On top of that, I've put in a 3.2% increase. Now that's based on the whole payroll. That was based on the figure that was implemented by the NJC via central government this year. The 3.2% will be on the lower end of the pay scale, and it reduces as you get higher up through it. So the higher end staff won't get the full 3.2%. But obviously I have to build in what that works out as. Below it, you've got the separate area of the town rangers, again building in the same principle, the national insurance, pension costs and scale point movements. Also built into that, which is coming to a committee meeting in December, is the provision for a call-out cost. Now obviously that can be removed if it isn't decided at the amenities committee, and can be put back into general reserves at some point during the year. That's for the provision of situations that have gone on where staff have been called out to toilets later in the evenings to resolve issues we've got there.
If I could just add, Chair, to that, there was a motion passed nearly 2 years ago where there was an agreement that there will be this is going to be pretty soon to go to Devonshire Square, there will be a plaque there with an emergency contact number, because at the point of time it was our then town clerk's mobile number, and the amenities then felt it was completely inappropriate for our clerk to get a phone call at 1 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday morning. So there was a motion passed way back when that we would find a company to deal with call-out charges, which has never happened up until now, and I would be very supportive of that, because I think it's unreasonable to expect any of our officers to go out at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning to fix something that's broken. So that needs to happen as far as I'm concerned, so that there will be an extra cost, of course.
Do you want me to continue? Okay. Bank charges, I've done an increase. Both bank charges are going up. Increase in staff mileage and event, well, that's kind of staff mileage, general sort of costs has increased slightly in line with necessary inflation. Put in a new line for subsistence. This is for office supplies basically, so tea, coffee, milk, etc. At the moment, these are the things that I know was discussed at the amenities committees when I brought up the idea of repairs and renewals budget. And this is why we need to move away from the repairs and renewals meaning of a budget. It was kind of like an area where kind of scooped up a lot of the stuff that didn't have a budget set to it. So you've got additional lines put in by myself to make that more transparent for the public so they can see. Recruitment, I've put in a provisional budget there. I know that the town clerk is potentially looking whether we grow the staff anymore, and I think we need a budget for that. Training, I've increased quite substantially, I suppose, due to obviously we've had new staff, we have new town rangers, they will need training, and that training will only probably grow as we go through the devolution process and what we take on.
So, through you, Chair, I'd like to see more training for councillors as well. Thank you.
That's a separate budget. That's a separate budget further down.
Again, like I said, there's a stationary budget. This was another area of what was sitting under repairs and renewals, now separated out. Rents and rates. This obviously covers where we are now and where we could depend on what happens, new premises, and that's all I'm able to say at this time with the hub. Utilities obviously in line with that, impossible increases and new premises.
Sorry, Chair, is everybody on this committee aware of the potential and the impact? Because to go from 28 to 51 is a significant jump, and if we're proposing this as a committee to full council, everyone here needs to be confident that they're understanding why that's going up. I'm just asking whether everyone is clear that we're going to have to run 2 premises for a period of time.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Along with that, I've kept the security caretaking and cleaning as is. I'm not anticipating that increasing anymore at the present time. Furniture, we will need furniture should we go to new premises and staff increasing.
Could I just suggest through the chair that if we're adding the value of potentially 2 premises, would the cost of the second premise include cleaning, or should we increase the cleaning budget? Because if we've got responsibilities for where we might go, we don't want to fall short of not having a cleaning budget for a second property.
In reply to Councillor Wilson's question through you, Chair, is the fact that the information we've got on the new premises is that it's an all-inclusive cost.
Okay,
it covers everything, which is why obviously we've kept the static costs for the hub to be ongoing. Again, with furniture, we would obviously look to take the current furniture we have, but certain items for staff on the front desk would need to change.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
PAT testing and fire extinguisher is a new cost centre. Basically, it's been again removed from repairs and renewals and put into a separate area. Meeting room hire, I've increased slightly for the need of additional meetings should we need them during the year, especially with devolution. We're going to probably potentially have additional meetings on top of council meetings.
I'm sorry, there's only me asking questions, come on. In the new building, is there a room that is significant enough to have committee meetings?
Yes,
So,
but it's not fully accessible.
okay.
So technically yes, but in practicality no.
Okay, thank you.
Can we know why that's not accessible? Is it not on the ground floor?
It's on the ground floor. There's currently not a ramp, and also the doorways are quite narrow, so certain wheelchairs or scooters may not fit through.
Sorry, Joe, it could have been an opportunity to potentially save some costs to offset it, but if it's not accessible, then it's not present. Thank you.
Hardware, like ITC, hardware and software have kept the same. Most of the software that we've got in place at the moment will just be under a renewal basis. We've obviously, that budget is quite substantial and does cover the need where we've have done over the past year with, you know, an additional laptop for new members of staff, so I think that will be sufficient going forward. And again, obviously for the recording cost of our meetings, that hasn't changed. I haven't increased that in any way. That's the first block of colour. I need a breath and a... Any further questions before I move down to the orange block?
No? Carry on, please.
Okay, that's fine. Now we're into predominantly what's covered by mainly the Engagement and Comms Committee. There was a resolution at the committee on the 6th of November to look at having a new website. The original budget paper that may have come out to that committee was sitting at around 25,000 for that new website. It's been reduced to 10,000 based on the quotations that we had and the resolution of that committee. Also, additional budget line put in there for past mayors and deputy mayor badges of basically civic regalia in general under that of 7,000. I think that's a budget that's needed. It's, in the past, we haven't had a separate budget line for additional items regarding the civic regalia. Printing and publication.
Can I ask a question about that, Chair, please? I was ex officio at the Engagement and Communication, and there was no mention of £7,000 for. We've either got to change the heading that it's not just for past mayor and deputy mayor badges, because we only want 8. That's about £900 a badge. That is just nonsense.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah,
It was a lot higher than
It
that.
was-
That's
it
where
was
the budget
higher.
I've put in came from.
I didn't believe there was any mention of cost of 7,000. I can't. And
No,
my
that's-
second follow-up
we
is
haven't agreed a quote for it. That's the provisional budget that we're putting in, because when we have investigated the quotes further, the total has come out at around that. So we thought if we added in a budget line for it, the money was there.
I understand that, but I'm not sure how many of the engagement and communications, of which there's 2 here and I was ex officio, would have agreed that at £7,000 for 8 badges.
I
don't remember that. I would have had something to say about
No,
that.
Yes.
that's because
It
we
was-
hadn't had quotes at that time.
It was for us to just go to look, we agreed on it and then get samples. That was it. No actual costings.
That's all they've done. That's the quote that's come out.
Or was it?
I'm sure.
Yeah, that's the budget that we've put in based off the information we've received on it. So at the time you made a decision for us to look into it.
Yeah.
Then we've received further quotes and details of how much it will cost. We've now proposed the budget line for it. So that is what we expect it to come out as. So it's for this committee to either decide to recommend that to full council or not recommend that, basically.
I would be very happy to put a motion forward to not recommend £7,000 for 8 badges.
Me too.
That is, I'm sorry, that is a nonsense. If it's any more than £20 a badge, and to be clear and transparent, I wasn't in favour in my ex officio role, but I accepted it because it's a corporate body, but I quite expect it to be 20, maybe £30 a badge.
There'll be more than that, but they won't be hundreds. They can't be hundreds, otherwise it's not.
No.
It's not doable.
And if it's an annual precept, I get this year will be more because we're picking up those from the first 4 or 5 years, but some of those are duplicated, so you wouldn't need past mayors 2 for this year and last year, or for the first year you'd only need 3 past mayor badges. So I think if we are able, under the heading of audit, to change that value and revisit it and reduce that down to a different figure. I cannot support £7,000 for past mayors and deputy mayor badges. I'm sorry. Apologise for that.
Okay, so what is your motion for that?
Well, my question first off is, can we override something that another committee has proposed in advance of putting this to full council?
You can't override it, but your job as the Finance and Audit Committee is to review it and scrutinise it. So you would make the recommendation to full council and say,
Okay.
as the Finance Committee, we don't recommend you put this budget line in. And then full council has the final decision.
I would recommend we set that to a maximum limit for this year at £1,000 if we possibly can, somehow. And that would enable flexibility because the first year you probably got some design costs involved in it as well, maybe. But any more than £1,000 for 6 to 8 badges is just, I can just hear residents going, really?
Maybe the past mayors could buy their own badges.
Well, historically, sorry through you, Chair, historically there wasn't a past mayor, it was just one mayor who created a badge and somebody else wanted one. Not of the current setup, but historically they were created. There wasn't such a thing as a past mayor, because I spoke to the 2012 mayor on Sunday and he'd never heard of them. So it's something we've created, which I get is a nice thing to do, civic-wise, to acknowledge work that, but not at £7,000.
I think it's worth looking at past mayors' badges being bought by the past mayors, and we don't take on that cost. Anything else to say?
So would that be past mayors and deputy mayors, and is it past deputy mayors? And
Anything past, you'd have to pay for it yourself.
Sorry, can I ask a question?
Yes.
For you, Chair, thank you. Were you putting forward a motion to not recommend that to full council, or just making a point?
I'm making a point because we already have some past mayors lapel pin badges, and I believe they were bought in advance, so I believe we've got the next couple of years already, so it would be really difficult to stop by having a badge for say 5 or 6 of the town council's past mayors and then go, well, no one else is having them unless you got it yourself. It's really difficult, and I don't actually have a problem with recognising it should be past deputy mayor badges, because we don't have mayor badges, so it should be past deputy mayor badges, but not at £7,000. They're only enamel things about so big, but the camera that's about 1/4 inch across. And I don't know under the audit role whether, I think that should be amended to past deputy mayor rather than deputy mayor, because the mayor doesn't have a badge. I know it's play on words, but it's important that, so it should be past deputy mayor, and I think if we can reduce that down to 7, from 7 down to, for this year, maybe 1,000, I think that, and see where it goes, and see what full council say.
Yeah,
Has anybody ever received a past mayor or ex-mayor, or they have?
Yeah.
And you're saying we've got extra badges?
I believe, Chair, they were bought in advance, so I think the next 2 or 3 years, previous clerk bought them in advance for a number of years, and they do have the year on, so you can't even hand them over to somebody else, they've got the year on.
Sorry, do you mind if I make another point? So part of this budget is to do with civic regalia and civic items as well. So we've had issues in the past where the council has agreed to purchase certain things with no budget for them, such as hats. The mayoral board that has all the past mayors' names on, there's no budget for those items. So this is not just that, it is also, we can rename the budget line, but we do need some sort of budget for civic regalia and civic spending, so that when we do have items like the mayoral board, there actually is a budget that it can come from.
Councillor Winter.
Thank you. So just to clear it up, it's not £7,000 for just past deputy mayor's badges, it's £7,000, as I understand it, for civic regalia, with part of that £7,000 being for the cost of past mayor and deputy mayor
The
badges.
majority,
Yes.
as we
So it's not just the
calculated,
entirety is for past deputy mayor's badges, it's built into a budget line.
So to clarify, when we bring that quote to the Engagement and Communications Committee, which is quite a lot, we will at least have a budget potentially for that spending to come from. But it would be...
So it just needs to be renamed civic regalia.
Yeah.
I've got no issue with that, but this says it's 7,000 for those 2 sets of badges.
Yeah, so that's why you would rename
Yeah,
it
we
civic
need
regalia.
to rename that, please.
Thank you. Big discussion, but I think important.
Thank you. Are we done on that one? Any more questions from anybody?
Am I carrying on?
Yeah, please carry on.
printing, publications and advertising I've reduced because obviously now we have communications officer or coordinator in the building. We're obviously looking at doing most of that in-house. Events line there. Now, previous years, other than this year, the events budget just had one budget under events. I've split them out into obviously Christmas light switch on, Remembrance Day, Bexhill Day, Annual Town Meeting, VE Day, Wing Walk / Battle of Britain Memorial, so they're our events that we provide as a council. And then there's a miscellaneous one which is just called events. That's put in there because certain items that we buy aren't associated to just one of them events. It covers across several, whether that's sort of, road closure signs was a classic for this year. And then I had to sit there and split that invoice out across all them separate to make it fair across the cost centres. So it's just a notional figure there, and obviously whatever doesn't get spent goes into general reserve. The events themselves, the Christmas lights which on, like I say, all the way down to the Battle of Britain Memorial, I possibly increased just to expand these events, which is, I believe, the feeling from the Engagement Committee was that we want to look to grow our events going forward. I think to expand it and increase what we're offering for the public of Bexhill. Going down from there, the street market. That's on the provision of supporting the street market towards applications of licences for road closure, but no longer including providing the road closure. Same for the carnival. The carnival gets a contribution from us from earmark reserves. It was noted at Engagement and Comms that was the 26-27 will be year 3 of year 3.
Sorry, can I just clarify, the £600 for the Bexhill Street Market, what is that exactly for?
Basically, that is for applying for a road closure.
On their behalf?
On their
So
behalf.
it's our staff on their behalf applying for
Yeah.
it?
I think that was the feel from that committee, was that
Right.
we would assist them with doing that, but not actually. Last year we actually paid for the road. We've paid for the road closures for them for the last few years, and that's over £7,000 worth of road closures in a year.
Right, but I can't understand why we're applying on their behalf. Are they capable of filling a form in?
So, if I could, Chair, just to add, now they're not allowed to. The rules have changed. Apparently, you've got to have certain criteria behind actually making the application. So it's the same for the carnival, the street market. They're not allowed to apply. Is what they said to us at that meeting, which they can't. No one else can do it. Apparently, weird, but that's what they said.
Right. Just seems a waste of money.
Yeah.
You can recommend to remove it if you want to.
Well, I don't want to recommend to remove it, and then obviously the street market, if there's a reason that they can't do it legally, then obviously there'll be no street market if we recommend to remove it. But I'm just trying to understand how it's £600 for our staff, who we're always told, and I completely agree with, are overstretched and understaffed. Well, let's take away them filling in a form that anybody can do.
And just because we are not going to actually pay for their road closure, and just because they can't organise their own, surely they could pay us to do that.
No, they are. That's the £600, isn't it?
No, they don't pay.
That's
That's
us.
That's us.
Them.
That's us.
Can we just get some more clarification?
They can't get their
before
own.
full council
Yeah.
on what
Yeah.
the legality is and why they can't fill in the form, just so everybody
Yeah.
is aware at full council. We have to pay them for this, and it's blah 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 blah.
The representative did clearly state it when he came to ask for it.
But for full council wasn't there, so just for full council's sake, can there be some clarification?
I think that's through you, Chair, a good thing, because we didn't actually, because of course in a committee meeting you can't challenge what is said, and we didn't. We just accepted what they were saying. But they did say that. Both parties said that.
Yeah, we learnt that right there and then, and we need to look into it further.
Yeah.
Thank you. Do carry on, please.
Okay, so the next one is the 18 hours contribution. That 26-27 will be the last year of that. Notice boards we've removed the budget. It had been removed this year, which we wasn't aware of, and then the bills started coming in. So obviously that was a bit of a... so we've removed it completely for the fact that it was discussed at Engagement and Comms that would now be done in-house by our town rangers. Event and road closures, like I explained, we have now just got road closures for Christmas and Remembrance Day costings in there, removing the street market and the whether they wanted to provide support for the carnival, which the committee decided they did not. So that's the reduction there. Christmas lights have been increased to cover any potential uplift, repairs, infrastructure repairs, which come every year with Christmas lighting. And then obviously Little Common, Sidley, their budget is still 5,000 each.
Councillor Wilson.
I will say again at this meeting, as I said as my ex officio role at the Engagement and Communications, we increase the central one by probably 8%, but we don't increase Little Common and Sidley. The answer from the chair of Engagement and Communication was they haven't asked for an increase, neither central. And I think it would be right for the other two areas to have a small increase, maybe an extra £500 or another 1,000 on top, because Sidley today have been going out to businesses in Sidley requiring money, because last Christmas they had the Heart of Sidley's funds from the big local £1 million that they had many years ago. That now has expired. They're now HOSCA, which is Heart of Sidley Community Association, so they don't have any money. They've gone out to businesses to say, please can you help us to cover the costs. And as most people know, businesses are really struggling at the moment through various rises in national insurance, etc. So there may not be many people that will be able to help, and there aren't that many small businesses in Sidley. And it just seems wrong to me if we increase Central's budget, even though that's on a fixed 3-year contract, we don't put a little bit more into Little Common and Sidley.
Thank you. Councillor Crotty.
Thank you, Chair. And I did say at that last meeting to my colleague that the reason why Bexhill has more money because the infrastructure has to be tested with the wires going across streets, where Sidley doesn't have that, or Little Common. And that is why we need more uplift in Bexhill, because with the sea weather we will have types with the bolts and these wires going across that needs to be tested for safety purposes, where Little Common and Sidley doesn't have that. That's why they've had 1,000 and it's gone up to 5,000, and I think that's enough.
So, through you, Chair, Sidley does have lights going across the streets, and they have to have their infrastructure checked as well. But I'm just making a point that I really like fairness, and it doesn't seem fair that we're not increasing Little Common and Sidley. The answer I got last time was from the Chair of Engagement and Communication, they haven't asked for it. Neither have Central asked for any money. We put money in there.
I think
So,
sorry.
I'm just saying, and I will raise it again at full council to get it approved, so I can't agree that there isn't a small increase, albeit 1,000 overall, £500 each, because then that just makes it fair and comparable across all wards. Thank you.
And I think we made a real good point for you, sorry Chair, we made a very good point at the last meeting that there's a lot of infrastructure in the centre of Bexhill that needs to be done.
Councillor Winton.
Thank you, Chair. The reason Central don't ask for it is because we are Central, we arrange it ourselves, so we're not going to ask ourselves for more money. Whereas Little Common and Sidley, obviously it's down to community organisations that get the funding and arrange the Christmas lights themselves. Perhaps similarly like I did for Bexhill Street Market, if possible, the staff could go away to the Little Common and Sidley organisations and maybe just get a rough breakdown of what it does cost them last year and projected for this year, and if it is a requirement that, you know, £500 across the board, you know, as an uplift it is required, then we would support that. But you know, if it's only costing £3,000, then obviously they're getting £2,000 extra. You know, there's no point giving out money when perhaps they're already running at a surplus. You know, so we best get some background information, because of course we want to support Sidley and Little Common, but there's no point chucking money at something that they've already got money at. But obviously the rhetoric of Central, you know, haven't asked for it. Well, we are Central and we organise it ourselves. You know, the bank's not going to go to the bank and ask for money. So
I think really they'll come back for a grant the next time, and they'll do it like that, you know, if they want a grant.
Well, obviously, you know, as the council, we fund it separately from a grant. As far as I'm aware, that's why they both get £5,000. But all I'm saying is, if possible, to get a little bit of background information, if the clerk and the RFO could ask the Little Common and Sidley organisations you know, what is your rough breakdown, you know, for 24-25 for Christmas lights or something like that, you know. So we've got to, when we come to full council along with the street market, we've got an understanding and a basis to make a decision when it comes to street light funding.
Councillor Crotty.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to through the RFO. Is it the same electrical Christmas company that does Sydney and Ilcombe?
I have no idea.
That's why you would ask the organisations and their companies.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. We'll proceed on.
So that gets to the bottom of the orange section, well, the darker orange section. Going down onto the next batch of colouring is the amenities committee. So obviously these were discussed at the amenities meeting of the 1st of October, from my understanding. Additional verge cutting. Now I know that got discussed at that meeting. The budget that the previous town clerk had put in was 26,000. The bill for the current year was 31,965. So obviously I would need to look at increasing the coming year's budget, which is why it has been increased from quite significantly from 26,000 to 34. But obviously if it's coming in this year at 30, just shy of 32, and I'm anticipating it's going to be higher again next year. I know it's discussed whether we looked at other options with the additional grass cutting, which I think is still pending going back to amenities in December. Okay.
Councillor Peters.
Yeah, so I swear at a recent meeting I've seen somewhere where you said that the East Sussex County Council would pay us to do the extra cuttings. So if they're charging us more, then surely it's now cost effective for us to do the extra cuttings. Is it not?
That's definitely something we can look at, yeah.
I think that's what's on the agenda for amenities.
That is, yeah, that's going
That's part
back
of
in
the
December.
discussion.
I believe, Chair, through you, that if we take on all of the cuttings, which is 6 urban and 1 rural, they would pay us some money if we did all of it. And I think the figure was close to 10,000. So we would save potentially 44,000, but if it would cost us more than 44,000, it wouldn't be economic. So I think that's where it came from.
Yeah.
But they will, if we take it all on. And I'm not sure whether our rangers wouldn't be in a position, I wouldn't have thought, to do that at this early stage of that developing. We'd have to go out to a contractor. But I will stand my ground that a lot of people don't realise the contract that was agreed by the town council when this first was introduced. So if you're rural, and declaration of interest if you like, I live in a rural part, I get 1 cut a year, full stop. There's no extra cuts. So for that £34,000, anybody who lives rural doesn't get an extra cut, full stop. The Sussex County Council will not do it, and we don't get it. So there is some work that needs to be done, but probably it won't be able to be done before the precept has to be submitted, so we're probably stuck with it. And I wonder whether 34,000, knowing East Sussex, is actually enough, because it's only a £2,000 increase on £32,000 bill.
Have we ever investigated putting that out to tender and asking, you know, trying to get quotes?
That's something that we're investigating at the moment, yeah, is how much money we can potentially save and other avenues we can go down. But obviously that's something that gets reported back to amenities, so I don't have that information on me tonight.
Very good.
Just one more.
Please. Oh,
Sorry.
Councillor Peters.
I know it's not going to get... We've had this problem before where things are continually getting kicked down because of your workload and stuff, so is this something that's going to keep getting kicked down, this investigation?
No, it's already, it's getting ready
right.
for amenities,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
The other item there was a resolution of the amenities meeting on the 1st of October, which was to increase future projects from 5,000 to 10,000. The Doomsday project is going to be in the budget still, but dealt with differently, I think, paid to the CIC as opposed to the person. Bexhill in Bloom stays as is, no change. Resolution of amenities was to increase the grit bin budget, double the grit bin budget to 3,000. And then obviously you've got the Rangers new budget lines there, which is the motor vehicles, which is for 2 vehicles now, obviously from the original. Uniform and PPE. Now I know that it's showing that obviously the current year we've spent 1,167. I've only done 1,000 because obviously now they should just be replenishing their uniform. Obviously we kitted them out from scratch with everything. And then the tools and equipment, depending on what there's some flexibility in obviously the tool budget. That is whether there's specialist work that we might need to look at, like Councillor Wilson is talking about, you know, cutting, grass cutting. You're going to need more industrial mowers than we have at present. So that's where them cost centres have come from. Originally it was all under an earmark reserve for the current year. And then neighbourhood plan was another resolution of the Amenities Committee to increase it from 1,000 to 20,000. Any questions?
I've got a couple of questions, if I may, and I'm on the amenities, and these are only hindsight questions, I guess. The first one's a doomsday. It's not the third year of that up in June next year.
This is the third year. So we're extending it for another year, but rather than paying the individual, we're going to be paying the CIC.
Okay. The other bit is the neighbourhood plan. When that comes probably to full council, that might need a discussion, because there are some questions over the, choose my words, necessity, requirement, use of a neighbourhood plan that came out of ESALC EGM last Tuesday, and I will be suggesting we need to go and do some clarifying behind that. So that might be, if we do it, it needs to stay there, but I think we need to ask some very quick questions of the validity of doing it, just to make sure. I wouldn't want the town council to commit to spend 20,000 if there's no benefit behind doing it, because the world is changing. I have spoken to the chair of that particular committee, so I'm not sure how we can deal with that. It's almost like the potential new building. We need to put it in there in case, but we don't know, because that's the sort of cost that you're going to need every year for probably 3 years to do it. Just wanted to point that picture, because if we're proposing this to full council, we need to be aware of big chunks of money like that.
Thank you.
On to the next, which is member representation, election costs. That's in there each year to build up, to cover any elections that may come up during a financial year, but whatever doesn't get spent in that year goes into an earmark reserve to build the funds for the next big rollout of town council elections. The mayor's allowance, all of these are no change really, is staying as is. The members' expenses as is, and members' training is 4,000. I know for you, Councillor Blagrove, Councillor Crottet, they mentioned about Councillor. Yet there's still, even as we sit now for the current year, there's still a full amount of £4,000 worth of training budget for councillors available.
Thank you.
Any questions before I go?
If I could, Chair, just point out that a lot of our training, isn't it free when we use our ESALC contributions? The training that ESALC put on, we don't pay for.
Yeah, lots of free regular training is available, and we're also we subscribe to something called the Council Hive. They are slowly introducing a councillor portal, which will allow councillors to access free training. And as we're already members of that for staff training and HR support, councillors, when it's up and running, will be able to log on and do online training, which is included in that package as well.
My reason for saying it, Chair, is I've heard Councillor Crotty say earlier he would like more training, but is it for members to go and find out what training they want, as opposed to our officers laying on training that's available through ESALC? Because it's a little bit unclear, but if we haven't spent 4,000 and people want training, is it for us to ask? I think there's a little bit of clarity maybe needed. Do you see what I mean?
Please go ahead.
Carrying on. Yeah. Allotments. Obviously we have 2 allotment sites that we manage ourselves.
Sorry, I'm just questioning whether we actually need 4,000 in training when we haven't had no councillors ask for training, but I've also heard Councillor Crotty want more training, but most of it is free, so do we need 4,000 in there? Because we're expanding a lot of these budgets, and we should look at what we could move around.
Councillor Winter.
Thank you, Chair. No, I quite agree with Councillor Wilson, actually. I think we need to halve that budget to about £2,000 because they're, like Councillor Wilson says, you know, I've attended many training sessions on a variety of different topics and they are all free through ESALC. You know, if there's a specialised topic that needs a sort of, you know, majority member, something like planning or finance, 9 times out of 10, when it comes to something like finance, it would be done in-house by, you know, the RFO or something like that. But for general council business, it's free through ESALC. So I don't think we need a £4,000 budget when we haven't even spent it.
Thank
Is
you.
my opinion.
Councillor Crotty.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, there was a few months back, or a couple of months back, or maybe even a year now, where I did ask for training for autism training that the National Autistic Society would do. And I did put a thing in because it costs £1,300 for a half-day event. And that was kicked down. So I would like to see some sort of, how can I put it, you know, HR training and that, and obviously autism training would be an ideal thing, where the last one with the questionnaire thing training that came out wasn't ideal for people like myself in the workplace. So I'd like to see something, maybe put another motion in for that again. But I'll look back and see when it was I put it in.
Just to say, I think we've already struggled with this with the council, or some of them. It wasn't easy. Some of them still haven't done it. And I done it myself, and I did learn something that I didn't know. Whether I want to learn more about that, because it's huge, so that there's a lot that we could learn a lot on top of what we already know. But I'm not sure that will be an easy task to put to the council.
It's like a mentoring one type thing, like when I worked at National Health Service, you have to do like health and social care and stuff like that, and help HR and health and safety. I just think that something that is mandatory would be ideal, but like I say, it's something I need to speak and go from.
Get up to Wilson.
I think there's one key thing that councillors could probably benefit from, is an overview of HR and corporate responsibility as employers. We only have a very brief overview of what our role is, and I've come from working in a corporate body, and some of our councillors have, but some haven't. Some run their own businesses, but not in a corporate way. They're different. But I think, going back to what I raised, I think at £4,000, when a lot of it is done from ESALC, I think is too much money to leave in our budget. So I've heard Councillor Winter suggest it be halved, so it sounds like I've got some support to review that. And I think if any councillor finds isn't it down to us as individuals to put a motion forward to the right committee to say this is what we would like training on, and then the officers go and decide it. But I think we can still do that within £2,000, personally. So I would like to put a motion if needed to reduce the training, this is members training, from 4,000 to 2,000, because, and this is for next year, it still gives us plenty of opportunity to do a couple of training sessions of something, bearing in mind most of the ESAP stuff is free.
Okay, do you have a seconder?
Yes.
Okay, can we take a vote on that? Hands up please for 4.
For 2.
Thank you.
That's gone down to 2. Yeah.
Thank you. Please carry on.
Just got by myself, I was doing changes. Okay, so obviously the ones still in pink on here are still covered by amenities. They're just kind of the way the budget's spread out. I need to work on this sheet next year. Sorry, I've taken it on and I need to, do some work on it. So allotments, maintenance of 4,500, reduced it slightly. We have ongoing issues at Preston Road allotment site with fences being cut off or out or whatever they're doing up there with disc cutters and whatnot. So that's, and to replace a whole fence panel of that is quite costly. Yeah. So that's why we're keeping that in there, because I don't envision that issue going anywhere. It's quite hidden, the allotment site. Yeah. Obviously that covers also Sidley, but obviously where Sidley's located, it's quite, central and visible from the public. Water costs, I know, is quite a big increase. This was also discussed previously, I think, by Councillor Peters. I think queried this at one of the meetings not long ago. There had been no actual meter readings done for quite some time at the allotment site, so that's why all of a sudden there was a big increase in cost, and due to the fact that we was obviously quite behind with the meter readings at that location. This is now in place and meter readings are being done, but obviously the usage. I'm expecting the usage now going into winter to reduce, and I hopefully will have a bit more of a fairer gauge of it come this time next year, but I'm obviously being prudent by putting in the figure that's in there.
Sorry,
Councillor
Chair,
Wilson.
I have no issue with increasing that because we know that there's been a problem. But is it under the same business stream contract as the office? Or is it on a different contract? Because water's water, and we're under a contract for the hub, I believe. Is that under a contract as well? Because sometimes with water, of course we're gaining all these toilets at the moment. Is there a way of centralising a contract to make it potentially cheaper? I don't know whether that's the right time to say that.
At the moment, obviously, it's all billed through business stream / Castle Water. We can look into. We'd have to look into that. To be fair, I just with doing
It's probably
this
for
and
next
starting,
year.
I hadn't had the chance to
It's-
look into that yet.
I accept that, it's probably for next year.
Yeah, but it can be, of course.
Yeah.
This is such a massive jump on the water, and I'm just wondering, have the rents been reviewed since we've had these allotments at all in the 5 years nearly that we've had them?
No. Which
Okay.
can be done
Maybe
as part of the
I
next.
think we should do that. Thank you.
I'll just add that, through you, Chair, allotments are a community asset which is meant to be involving the community. For once, we actually are making money on the allotments, rents versus what we thought we were going to get. Generally, councils don't make profits out of allotments. I'm not saying don't increase it, but would that send out the right message? I know up in Sidley there's a charity that uses 2 of the sites and they've got some equipment there and they're there 3 or 4 times a week with the kids that are there. And I wouldn't want to put people off doing it just for the sake of raising an extra £1 or 2.
I would
That's
say that the rates when I last heard about them are extremely cheap, and I did say when we first opened this council that they need looking at and they need putting up because they're silly money really for what they are. You know, we're going to take a hit with this water going up. It was such a huge. We need to have a look at them at the very least and see what can be done. Thank you,
Excuse me, Chair.
Councillor Crotty.
Thank you. Also, we have paid a lot of money for securing the allotments and cleaning them up and sorting them all out as well over the past few years. So really, I'm sure the benefits now would make it more clearer, more cleaner. So, because it did cost us a lot of money to move a load of rubbish out there.
Yeah, it's good. It's got to be viable, otherwise they're not worth running them. Quite honestly, it's a business. Please carry on.
Just to add to that, the rent is £57 a year.
Where's my case?
Just so you know.
Thank you for that answer.
Just for your information.
Actually, that's a lot of money for an allotment.
No.
Allotments that I've had before, all right, it's 20 years ago, I was paying £15 a year because allotments don't generally pay a lot of money. So if people are paying £57, that's quite a lot of money because you're going to use them for 6 months of the year, so 10 a month. And if they didn't use them, what else would you do with them? It would just overgrow.
At the very least, they need to. Those rents need to double up to make it sensible. Councillor Crotty.
Thank you again, Chair. Was there a waiting list for allotments? Because
Not that I'm aware
the last clerk said something about if there's any spaces available, there's a waiting list or something for anyone else interested.
We have had a waiting list in the past when we only had limited plots available,
But it's not needed now.
but at the moment we don't have a current waiting list now.
Thank you. Please carry on.
Okay, other costs. So insurance. This is where this year that 2679. This is obviously we have a bulk insurance policy that covers vehicles buildings, public liability events, and obviously I've had to add to that policy the stuff that we bought for the Rangers as it's gone along, so we've had to look to increase that because I don't anticipate the renewal next year being much less than that. Obviously it will come to the relevant committee with additional quotes as per the financial regs, and that will be nearer the end of this financial year, but obviously the budget will need to be set before that time. External audit fees, slight increase as they will come in within that budget frame. Again, with internal audit fees, I've not changed that.
Sorry, can I just go back to the what we were just talking about, the insurance?
Yeah.
I seem to remember somewhere along the line that I heard that somebody else with a different event actually uses our insurance, or that we're not the only people using our insurance. Could anyone clarify that, please?
We'll have to get some clarity on that.
Is it a market or one of the markets, maybe something like that?
I'd have to get some clarity and feedback.
I will note the question in the minutes.
Thank you.
That's all right.
Sorry, do carry on.
Internal audit. I'm losing my voice now. Internal audit fees. I've remained as is. You have 2 internal audit reviews in a year. We've had so the year end. It's weird because the year end one falls within the current year, and then you'll have interim coming up. So it's very weird the way it works with billing. But you still end up with 2 in a year. And the one we've had already this year for £158, and then you will get another one. The interim audit takes longer than the end of year 1, surprisingly, so it'll be slightly more, but it'll still come in below £500. Legal and professional fees I've left as is at 10,000.
Sharon.
Sorry, Councillor Wilson.
Could I suggest that looking at the payment record for September, the external audit cost was just over 2,000, but you're only budgeting external audit fees at 1,600. It's listed the very last line on 1st of September, the 30th of September. External audit for 24/25 2016. So I just wonder.
That will include VAT.
Okay, so all these figures exclude VAT.
On this budget, yes.
On the budget. Okay.
It has to exclude
Okay.
VAT.
So they'll be higher.
Thank you.
I didn't know that. Thank you.
Devolution.
Sorry, thank you. Devolution, that was a resolution from the, not resolution, but that was agreed at the Amenities Committee. It was put in by myself as obviously we need to think about what's coming down the road and whether we're going to need additional advice and support as we go through acquiring whatever assets and services come down the line. So that's why that budget's been put in there. Subscriptions, not changed. The annual subscriptions are what they are, and they don't change enough. As you can see, we've paid all of the year ones out, and it's around 4,257 for the current year. Repairs and renewals, that is now obsolete due to the fact that I've removed and set that budget out. Now looking at what I've put in there for general maintenance, that can probably be reduced because obviously I've put in additional lines for stationery, subsistence and stuff. So I, through the committee, would recommend that we reduce that to about 2,500. Just because of I did this, that was put in there for the original amenities meeting, but since then, obviously, what I will say is the budget is always very fluid and it will change right up to the time that it goes to full council. It's, for me, it's my role to adapt some of the lines as the information comes through to me, and that's to relay to you.
So do you want us to put a motion to cut it in half to 2,500? Okay, I'll put a motion in to cut it down to 2,500.
Seconded.
Thank you very much. In favour? Thank you.
Grants and community support I've left as is, which obviously we discussed earlier as part of the grants and donations policy. I've got their pending review by this committee, so I mean, I think for the moment, as you've got it in there, and obviously we've still got a certain amount of money left, and we're coming up to December, we'll potentially still be looking at some monies remaining in there.
I would just like to say that I would find it difficult to increase it. We upped it 12,000 last year, and I think 42 is about right in the way we've split it.
I
So
agree.
it's part of this committee, and I think for next financial year, I think we should leave it as it is. Just my opinion. I see nodding.
I agree with that.
CCTV, okay. 2 points to CCTV. One is the 30,000 is for additional upgrades and additional discussions regarding. This line's been in there from the previous clerk, and I'm trying to find some information to detail more on that, because I know there was provision of upgrades to some of the CCTV around the town of 9 cameras that we are responsible for. Out of that 9 cameras is what we pay CCTV Chromavision contract for, which is something that we had to take over from the police because BT was not doing it anymore, I believe, and that's where it came from. And that's a yearly subscription. Yeah.
Councillor Crotty.
Do we need CCTV? Because it's not used. Who uses it? Police don't use it.
Well, no, that's what we have.
So what's it for? No, please don't use it. So what's it used? What's it there for? Because you get more CCTV in shops than that now that are catching the criminals than the actual CCTV. Who mans it? You know, that's the thing.
The police are responsible for it, we just pay for it.
They don't use it.
I can't comment on that.
I can. They don't use it. Simple as that. So it seems to be a 37 grand waste, really. If it's not, it's just really there and it's not being used properly.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
Just to try and give a bit of clarity, there's 2 outstanding motions around CCTV. One is to review all of the CCTV, and it's not just 9 CCTV cameras in Bexhill. There's loads dotted around the place. There's about 20 that just go onto Edgerton Park from various routes. There's one from the museum which isn't counted as these 9. There's a secondary motion to investigate installing up to 2 more cameras in Edgerton Park. Both of those actions have been, and the first bit was a review of it, had a 3-year time span, and we're probably a year into doing it because it's a massive piece of work. I will disagree with Councillor Crotty. The police do use CCTV for appropriate cases. I'm aware that some have been used because I've spoken to our operations manager before and he's gained access to it and provided it. So, and I think if residents realise that we were considering removing all CCTV, which is a protection for us as residents, I couldn't support that. So I would suggest that 30,000 does need to stay there until we've done the work to understand what the motion relates to by talking to the right people over the extra CCTV for Edgerton Park. And that was driven by a member of the public coming here with the incidents where there was some nasty behaviour towards animals in the Edgerton Park. That was in the last 12 months. So, and that's the work that needs to be done on CCTV, but it is resource preventable at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much. Just to say where I'm concerned, I did ask recently in question time on one of the other meetings we had some pertinent questions about the CCTV. Myself, I'm not clear on a few things. I think probably it needs a review somewhere along the line, but anyway, I don't think we know enough about where they are, what they do, who looks at them, or the rest of it.
I put forward and was passed a year ago, and it's got 3 years to do it because it's a massive piece of work. So when you quite rightly ask that question, that is in hand, but it's on the list of.
Okay, thank you.
Massive piece.
I'm mindful of time now, so we're going to move on a bit now, Michelle. Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. Future asset fund, the amenities wanted to keep as it is at 25,000. Which, if it doesn't get spent at the end of the year, will go into the earmark reserve for that fund. Obviously, again, I foresee possibly in the future that being renamed under devolution and being moved to particular assets as and when that time
Yeah.
comes. Reserves to, we need to obviously keep our general reserves at a certain level, and to do that we need to build in the reserves fund. Maintenance of WCs, obviously that is the complete cost for all of the toilets, as the council deemed that they wanted to keep all of the toilets opened other than Norman's Bay. And that is split out onto, I can give you the splits for that, obviously you've got the bulk figure there that, so basically it's 20,000 for the utilities, which is mainly predominantly the water bills and such like across all sites, the cleaning cost of 100,000 and the maintenance of 50,000. That's based on if we continue to keep them toilets open. I know it seems quite a lot of money. The cleaning cost itself is quite substantial. Maintenance is there because obviously we've all seen what damage has been done to the toilets. The option you have and what will the full council will need to decide, you could remove that 50,000 for maintenance, but if any damage happens to them toilets, they will be closed because they'll be deemed unsafe for the public to use, especially like what happened at Channel View East recently. So it's whether the council want to, and obviously there's still a lot of discussions going on. We're waiting for the licences to come through still or be finalised. But obviously the council resolved to open all the toilets, and that's what obviously the council is doing. But that obviously comes at a cost.
I'd like to see one day that change, because you know it's been toilet gate for a few years now. It's been a nightmare, and we are where we are, but I don't think where we should be. And these amounts of money are just enormous, and what we're getting for our troubles and for our efforts is people just trashing them, and this will cost more money to do. Again, it's something that needs looking at even more now. I'll leave it there.
Could I paint the picture that
Councillor Wilson.
At the amenities chair, there is some work being investigated over some potential changes around employing attendants, and our clerk has got some work to do, but I'm not sure how long that's going to take to do. We have various options around, I think the phrase was mentioned, pay to P, either cash or card or some other method, but it is really difficult because we know most of our residents were almost demanding that we open the toilets, and we bucked the trend against a lot of councils by opening them and not charging, but clearly we've had some damage, so it's right, and that's where the amenities have asked for some investigations to see whether it is, because in some councils they charge and in some councils they have attendance. What is right for Bexhill? And I don't think anyone in the amenities was qualified to really know what is right, and actually that 170,000 doesn't include the potential of employing attendants who would also clean it, so that may not be enough next year if
It just gets, yeah, I hear what you're saying, and it just gets more and more, and it will just get more and more and more, and it isn't right. You know, I sometimes question how many toilets we actually need in this town, but that's another story for another day.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to leave that there, and please carry on, Michelle. Thank you.
And the final line on the budget is bus shelters. We have a rolling plan for bus shelters to be refurbished. I think there was about 6 or 7 on our set list that was going to be done over a certain period of time. And then again, obviously, we have several ones. I know there's a couple that are being addressed at the moment. We just had one come in this evening of some serious damage and vandalism on one of them up at Gunter's Lane, which will just need to be completely probably overhauled, or one side of it completely. And obviously we've looked at alternative ways of what we do with bus shelters regarding, you know, some of them were to be done by way of arts and be completely decorated is not the word, but you know, jazzed up, and then some of them will just be sort of completely overhauled but with mesh instead of perspex and such like. So the budget's remaining in there for the cleaning and obviously the ongoing rolling out of updoing the bus shelters.
Just to say that I noted in Sidley, the one with the flowers on it, has the perspex has been broken out of there, and it's been scribbled on, of course, and I expect as soon as we replace it, that'll happen again.
That's not long been replaced, councillor Blackburn.
I rest my case. Okay. Are we there? Can councillor?
Sorry, just a quick question. The one outside of the town hall, did we have anything to do with the bus shelter outside of the town hall?
I believe we,
We refurbished
Yeah.
that.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to say it, whether it's the right form to say it or not. It looks like something out of a futuristic Soviet Union. You know, some black, great, big, awful thing. You know, and I think the public have noticed it as well. You know,
it's
all right jazzing it up with flowers and, you know, lovely pictures of trains. You know, in my opinion, that just encourages graffiti. And then just making it black, it looks like the opposite of retardis. I think there needs to be some sort of neutrality that needs to be put in there. You know, I think it's something Joseph Stalin would have loved, but not in Bexhill at all.
Thank you.
We will pass on the feedback.
Please do, because it looks dreadful.
Through you, Chair. I quite like it. It's very clean, it's square, and I know it was a lot of money to do because the end panel was, let's say...
Does it need to be black? All
No,
black. It looks like
I
something...
think it's grim. I think it should be green at the very.
I think the
You know,
feedback
nice
should
colour.
be that the amenities weren't consulted about the colour change, whereas the other designs for the floral ones, which
So who
We-
decided
we
to
were.
paint it black?
I don't believe the amenities.
The contractor that refurbished them.
I don't think we can just allow them to do that and we don't know about it. Because I mean, I've just drove past it and thought, what the hell is that? A black
I think
bus stop
It's
in
a
our
lesson
midst.
learned, I think. Could we do anything to brighten it up?
Just make it
Please.
neutral. It doesn't need to be all black.
Potentially.
Is my, you know,
Obviously,
sort of personal-
operationally speaking, the darker a colour it is, the harder it is to be vandalised. So I assume that's why it went down the road that it did. But that's definitely something that we can
Yeah,
feedback
let's look at
on.
that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Councillor Crotty.
Thank you, Chair. Can we just paint the town colour, the town council colours, red, green and white?
Possibly. I mean, the responsibility of bus shelters obviously does fall to the amenities committee, so it is what they want, but I don't see why not.
Okay, thank you. We're pretty much done on that then, so we'll go to item 9.
So can I just say thank you to Michelle for that big, long...
Yes, very informative. Thank you.
yeah, just to, sorry, councillor Bagray.
Okay.
Just to mention, obviously, we are still waiting for the tax base for 26-27. So obviously the figures that I've put together were based on the current year's tax base. Once we get that, now bear in mind that we didn't get the tax base or the precept form from Rother until the 19th of December last year. So obviously this could go, I'm not going to, once I get that information, as soon as I have it, you will have it. But obviously at the moment I'm working on the current year's tax base.
Thank you.
Okay.
So moving on to item 9, which is recommendations from committees, and there were none.
Oh, sorry. Can I vote that the committee recommends it to full council?
Yes.
Thank
With
you.
amendments.
Yes, with all the amendments that we've got down as well.
Okay.
Just before we do that vote, it is rather weird that year on year we've had houses knocked down, or there's less taxpayers in Bexhill. For 2024 we had 17,332 taxpayers. And the following year, which is this year, we had less people here.
That's
And
something
we've got
that
less
the
people
RFO
here
can't.
since we had in 2023-24, yet with all the development
Hand
in
over
this
to the
town.
RFO
Yes,
for that,
please.
Thank you.
The rationale, Councillor Wilson, behind the tax base is built on if pensioners, they don't class as a tax base, and lower income households do not class as a tax base. So it will change, it can go up and it can go down, it just depends on the circumstances of housing. Obviously if you have, say, a big development come in and they have a proportion of lower income household availability, then obviously that they will not count to the tax base.
So potentially having 2,000 people moving into Walsham Farm in a 2-year period wouldn't increase the tax base by 2,000?
No.
No.
I wasn't aware of that.
No.
I'm sure there's a lot of councillors who weren't aware of that. So,
Thank you.
learning all the time. Thank you.
Okay, so can we go to the vote then to refer this to full council? Everybody saying yes to that? Those against? Those abstaining?
Can I vote for? I was still mulling it over as to whether I was voting for. Add me to the for one,
Okay.
please.
That's good, thank you. Moving along. Item 9. 10. Motions from councillors, there were none. Correspondence and matters for information, there were none. And questions from councillors that were put forward have been answered on the agenda. We're going to 13.
12B. 12B. 12B.
12B. And 12B is to receive questions from councillors and any future agenda items. Do you have any? No. And 12C, to consider any new risks for future mitigation. No. And
Sorry.
Councillor Peters.
Back on that. A new risk. The ID cards thing is still going through. I noticed on the last meeting. Yeah.
Yeah, they've approved the design, so we're just what we're going to do is just a quick update while I'm here. What we're going to do is start calling councillors in to provide a photo, and then we will order them. So
Right.
they're ready to go. The design's been
So
approved.
does that need to be added to the risk register, or not in case people lose them?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just a consideration.
I wonder whether I'm trying to get my crystal ball out and look into the future. If we have 2 properties, is that a risk?
That's just noted.
Just noted.
Yeah, that's just the timetable of what we do in each calendar year.
So I'd like through you, Chair, to ask other people's opinion on whether it could be considered a risk having 2 properties, management-wise, split the team across 2 sites potentially. Does that create a risk to us as a corporate body?
Councillor Winter.
Thank you, Chair. I think it does create a risk actually, because if we had consulted a letting expert when we first took the hub, that expert, as I did at the time, would have noted when the break clause was. Obviously, me being a councillor and being in lettings, nobody listened, but that clearly didn't count for much. So I think what would be the risk is we sign up for another lease on whatever property it is moving forward, is we need to consult someone legally, because it's all right us looking at the lease or whatever it is, but we need an expert, because if we had listened to somebody 2-3 years ago about the hub, we wouldn't be in the situation that we're in now. So I think the risk is not reading legal documents when it comes to properties correctly and getting legal advice on leases, which I know we do, but we're taking on any new properties is, as Councillor Wilson says, a great risk. And when it comes to leases, I think we've all learned a lesson.
Thank you.
That is it.
Do we know yet what sort of period there will be when we have to go in at once?
It depends on if and when the council agrees the lease. There's really no saying. We actually received the draft heads of terms today. No draft lease as yet, so that will go to full council at the end of the month.
Okay.
My assumption is next financial year, but obviously we know that the legal process is incredibly slow.
Yeah.
So it's hard to put a direct time on it.
Maybe, Chair, in simple terms, the risk is that we don't have our owned property, and that covers off the risk of a lease. Because I've been a supporter of actually looking further ahead and where the town council should be firmly established 10, 15, 30 years on. Would we still want to be paying leasehold payments on a property that isn't ours? Do we want to go down the National Loan Board and borrow money? We've looked at other properties before. So the risk is probably not owning our own property and being totally self-sufficient.
Well, that might be something to look at in time. I don't think it should have been done before now.
Maybe
You
not,
know,
but
maybe in the
that's-
future.
that is the risk of leases versus owned.
Thank you. So to item 13, overview of annual internal control tasks of the council. Should I read that?
That's just for noting.
Just for noting. Thank you. And item 14, date of the next meeting is Wednesday the 10th of December 2025. And I now declare the meeting closed. Thank you.